All right, we're down here at the shop today, and I just wanted to go over. I've owned a toy hauler now for 3 or 4 years. Got quite a bit of experience hauling these and enjoying them, putting my razor in the back. Just wanted to go through everything that I've learned thus far about a toy hauler and what you might want to know, either if you own one of these or you're thinking about buying one. Stay tuned. Okay, so first a little bit about this toy hauler. This is a Puma Unleashed. It's a 373 QSI or QSL. It's kind of still up in the air now what that actually means. But this has a 13.5-foot garage in the back. Nice living area. Full master with a pull-out couch, queen size, and 2 queen size beds in the back. And just some of the reasons that we bought this toy hauler. The main selling point on it is, one, it would fit pretty much any razor out on the market that is a 2-seater. That's pretty much still the case today. 72 inches wide, 64 inches wide, up to 3.5 feet long. But the main thing was, one, the cost. This is a more economy unit, and it still has a full-size shower on the inside, which I like because I'm taller. I'm almost 6 foot tall, and I don't really like hunching down inside the toy hauler. So on a toy hauler, the first thing that you'll notice, kind of up there, you got black streaks down there. If you look real careful here and you watch one of my previous videos, this is slightly different color. That brings me into maintenance of one of these. So there is quite a bit of maintenance with any camper, especially a toy hauler. The main reasons is I had a blowout, and I had the factory tires. The factory tires were about approximately 2.5 years old. One would not think that that would be an issue. The tires had no visible issues, but one of them actually exploded on the way down to Windrock. One exploded on the way back. When that happened, I replaced all the tires. Pretty common theme that you hear. On my toy hauler, it did quite a bit of damage. It basically ripped this whole fender off. You're looking at, if you do it yourself and order the parts from Forest River, that total to me was probably around $600–700 repair, plus a little over $1,000 for all 5 tires to be replaced with heavier duty tires. Now, there are a lot of tires on the market. One of the tires that comes highly recommended, obviously, is the Goodyear. Another one is to actually upgrade this to like a different rim and wheel style that actually is a J-rated tire, which gives you the ultimate in performance. But what I went with is some Hercules, and I think I ended up with a Thunderer. I ended up getting a spare replaced on the way down with a Hercules, and then when I came back up, I just had them all, what was left, I had them all replaced with the Thunderers. But those have anywhere between 4 to 6 more ply rating than what was on there before. And I'm just going ahead and planning on, and good rule of thumb, unless you get some really high-end tires, you swap those out at every 3 years or more. Like I say, the original ones I had on it, I think, were Castle Rocks. Those didn't last, according to the date code on the tire, 2.5 years. So just something to be mindful of. If you take care of it before it happens, you won't have the major skirt damage, or worse, actually damage part of the camper. Up top on these campers, you really have to do a really good job of cleaning the roof. I do mine twice a year. Generally, I'm using like Simple Green is usually what I use, or Tide dishwashing detergent, some non-distillant type cleaner. Right now, the roof's in really good shape. It always has been, but that's because I've really kept up on roof maintenance. You can kind of see here, this is set for, our last trip to Windrock was probably 2 months ago. Very minimal black streak. Up here on the front, if you own any Forest River that has a brown front cap, you'll have fading issues. This one was really bad faded, and what I found, I've been using Polyglow once a year. I'll shine this up and get it looking decent, and that'll pretty much last for the rest of the year. So that's another thing. So all in all, I would say probably every major roof cleaning / trailer outside cleaning / Polyglow usually takes pretty much the whole weekend. So you can figure probably 2 weekends out of the year that you're going to be doing some maintenance. One unique thing about a toy hauler is a lot of them come with fuel stations. I have a fuel station in mine. I really haven't had any problems with it, but I've taken really good care of it. So in the off season, I make sure that this is completely drained. And then once a month, what I'll do is I'll actually pull the fuel filler, which is in this compartment. And even if there is gas in it, if there is, I will actually pump that back into the inlet fill. And mainly that's to get that fuel cam just some movement. If you let this sit for a very long time, that cam will actually swell up or get stuck and cause you issues, and it kind of ruins your trip, especially if you have you're relying on this fuel fill to fill up. And here locally, that does happen. We had a gas shortage here recently, and if you didn't take gas with you when you got to Windrock, you weren't getting any more. So something to be mindful of. And just, you know, make sure that you clean the fuel area, and never ever, if you've let gas sit in the hose of one of the fillers, make sure that you either empty that out or do something with it, because the actual hose, you'll see it in the gas, it'll be kind of a really brown or dark color. You don't want to let gas sit in that hose. So the way that you do prevent that from happening is, what I'll do is, if I get the toy hauler back and I've got it empty, I'll actually turn the fuel pump off and put the hose down way lower than everything else, and let that drain into a fuel can. If you catch it fresh, you can put that in your lawnmower, what have you. If you don't catch it fresh, you've got to drain it out and dispose of it properly. So roof maintenance, if you notice on my particular toy hauler, something I wish that I had that I did not get on this one, is a roof to access the top. So I have an extending ladder. The safest, easiest place is this upper part here. So twice a year I'll go up and clean the roof, and the way that I clean the roof is, again, using Simple Green and or Tide. I'll actually scrub the roof with a bristle brush, get everything cleaned up, inspect all my seals. About every 2 years you have to reseal, or that's what I found on mine. And then you actually want to put UV protectant on it. I use Best RV roof protectant. That seems to work really good. It is also a cleaner. I don't really rely on that for the cleaning part, but my final step, I'll actually put that on the camper to keep UV, some kind of UV protection on the roof. It also helps with black streaks. As far as like the side cleaning, Mr. Pink does a really good job. Wash wax. You can find that at Amazon. I'll try to leave a link down in the bottom. I really haven't had a lot of trouble with my awning. A lot of people have. I've kept that clean with just the normal Mr. Pink wash. I have treated it twice, I think, with just a very light grade chlorine mix, bleach, just to get some mold off when, you know, I probably didn't put it back properly or put it back wet. But if you can avoid that, it'll save you from having to clean that awning. You know, black streak remover. So the only thing, I think I've used every product in existence. BioClean black streak remover, I've got another video on that. Not sponsored. This is stuff I've never spoken to them or anything. It works. I use it full strength, just spray a little bit, you know, everywhere there's a black streak, which there's quite a few now on the camper, and it takes it right off. It's the only thing I've actually found to take off the black streaks. Moving on down on the camper, tire care is super important. Those crystal rocks that exploded on me, the China bombs, what have you, I took really good care of those tires. I made sure they were inflated to the proper pressure. You know, really didn't let them get exposed to a lot of UV. The exterior of the tire, when they exploded, looked really good. But what happens is you're sitting, you can kind of see they're pooched out there. You get some separation, and then you get going down the road, and what happened on that one is the steel belt actually blew all the way through the tire, ripped the tread off, grabbed a hold of this, tore the fenders and stuff up. I don't think I'm gonna have near as of a problem with these better tires, but I still am planning on probably replacing these every 3 years, unless I get like a commercial trailer type product to put on the trailer. But, you know, keeping these tires clean, free of debris, pressured up correctly. Obviously check your lug nuts. I do that every trip. They do loosen up. I can confirm that. Make sure that you do that. Another thing that I do once a season is pull this out here and actually grease these axles. My axles are Dexter, so they have a through grease fitting that actually, it's not as good as packing the bearings by hand, but basically what it's doing is it's sending grease back up through the bearing and out the front, which you end up with a little bit of mess. The best thing that I found to clean it with, I'll usually put the rubber stopper back in that's behind this metal plate. And super clean degreaser works really good. So usually what I'll do is I'll put super clean degreaser on that, get that all cleaned up, put the metal cap on, then I use super clean's wheel cleaner to clean off the wheels. And as you can see, I don't end up with a big mess all over my tires or my brakes or the side of the camper. So I don't know whether you're going to be able to hear it or not, but something I've got to do, kind of what precipitated me coming down here today, is I was up at the house and I heard a beeping noise. And what that beeping noise is that little thing there. So that's your, mine's a safety alert. They're basically designed, they're wired in and they come off really easy. The reason that they do that is because these only last, you know, approximately 3 years. So you might as well plan on buying one of those. The sensor goes bad in it. Another consumable item is batteries. So my battery is packed up front. I haven't really done any upgrades on it. It's just a single deep cycle battery. It's up there in that compartment there. I've replaced that once, and I would expect I'll probably have to replace it again soon. When I first got this, I did a lot of dry camping, which did bring the battery down much further than it normally is now that I do full hookups. If it's sitting here next to the shop, if you haven't seen my other video, I'll put a link. But I installed a 50 amp plug to actually do everything. We'll run everything here at the shop while the camper's here, so it always stays charged. But that seems to be around a 3-year mark too. So you're kind of seeing a theme here of kind of how you can put together a plan that every 3 years you do some preventative maintenance, that you don't have to worry about getting out on a camp trip and something failing. Okay, so now we're going to get into trucks. So when I purchased this, I had a 3/4 ton Dodge truck. It was either right at the limit or this trailer was slightly above what it could actually tow. Now it pulled this trailer fine. It did not stop this trailer, nor was it a pleasant experience, although I did not notice it at the time. So if we look here, this is basically a 14,000 pound trailer. I did end up purchasing a Ram 3500. There's several videos that I've done. I did stay with a pull rod hitch. Ram sitting up there. And here's what I'll say. Basically, if you're going to do a 12,000 to 14,000 or more toy hauler, I highly recommend getting a 1 ton. I would not say that a dually is a requirement. I will say in towing, going from single rear wheel to dual rear wheel makes a huge difference in your stress level while you're driving. They are more stable. They don't move around as much, especially if you're out on the interstate close to high-speed trucks. That Dodge, it does not move at all. I drive this through Knoxville on every trip that we've made to Windrock without any concern. Where before in the smaller truck, single rear wheel, it was kind of a high-stress environment. You had both hands on the wheel. You weren't able to reach down and grab a drink. You were constantly thinking about where the trailer and truck were going. So I highly recommend, if you're thinking about getting a toy hauler that weighs 12 to 14 or more, I would go with a 1 ton dually. It'll make your traveling experience much nicer. I would have never have thought in the 3/4 ton truck to take a trip even by myself. In the 1 ton dually, I would pull this wherever with one person. It's just not going to stress me out too much. Highly recommend it. One big thing that came up on one of my videos, I live in North Carolina. North Carolina does have, and many other states do as well, licensing requirements for towing this amount of weight. I'm 28,000 pounds, which in North Carolina, you can tow 26,000 or under with a normal Class C license. If you have one of these in a 1 ton truck, you have to go get a Class A license. It's really easy to tell. If you look on the back of any North Carolina license, it will explain to you in, I think, 2 or maybe 3 sentences what you're allowed to tow. Getting the Class A wasn't a big deal. I had to go take a test and do a road test, and now I'm good to go. And you learn some valuable information with that. Now, obviously, I have heavy equipment, etc. I knew a little bit about towing big things anyway, but they actually do. You know, you're not gonna be able to pass that test unless you at least know the basics. So make sure you check with your state's rules I believe, and don't quote me on this, North Carolina, Texas, and several other states that are common to those two states have the same requirement. California actually has a lower requirement. I think you can't tow more than, I think it's like 18,000 pounds or something like that before you get upgraded, which North Carolina right now, as it stands, you can do 26,000 combination without issue. But this right here, as it sits, and this is probably the smallest toy hauler you're going to get, at least that'll haul a razor. This is 14,000 pounds, so that's going to put you over on a one-ton truck, so be sure to check that out. On trucks, I did get a long bed. I did stay with the pull right that I had before, and I probably won't be switching. I thought about getting a normal hitch, which a normal hitch, the benefit to it is you could actually come in from the side any angle you wanted and hit the kingpin. The pull right requires you to be within 11 degrees, so you either got to go dead on straight or just slightly. That's about 11 degrees, so that kind of gives you an idea. You got to basically be dead on the trailer. For me, that hasn't been a problem. Everywhere I go is pretty much pull through, and here down at the shop I can get directly on it. But that's something to consider, especially if you go to the long bed. I will say with a long bed with the Super Glide, I worry about things less, because anytime that I make it get in a tight corner, it pushes the camper just that much further away from the cab of the truck, which gives me a peace of mind. And it isn't that big a deal. And the maintenance on the pull right pretty much is just WD-40 on the rails to keep everything clean. And once a year, I actually pull the hitch apart. There's a big bolt that goes to the center pivot that you need to grease, and a spring that you need to grease. And it's pretty much just a one-year thing. It's something to keep in mind of. I know a lot of people that have had trouble with fifth wheels have done zero maintenance on their hitch, and that's usually why they have a problem. So just something else to keep in mind. Okay, so the last item, in my little list that I've developed over the past few years of owning a toy hauler is tie-down system. So I bought a tie-down system that actually has like a kind of a soft shackle, so I can hook anywhere, especially on the new XP. I bought it and did not know really where I was going to tie down at. We were going to Windrock relatively quickly after I got the Pro XP, so I went ahead and bought this. These work really well. I'll try to put a link. This is Rhino USA. Again, no sponsorship. I paid for these. But the thing I like about these is, one, it's closed. So you've got a nice spring actuated thing here. And you have a soft shackle that you can actually attach to the razor without, worrying about damaging anything or scratching anything up. The big thing is, almost everybody that I've seen, when they first get a toy hauler, you pull your ride up in there, especially a razor that basically goes from the front to the back. And you don't know how to tie it down, because there's no way to get way in far front of the razor or behind the razor to actually keep that razor. What you're wanting it to do is, you're not necessarily wanting to hold it down. You want to keep it from moving side to side or back to front. In order to do that, you need to have the correct angle. The trick to getting the correct angle is you got to reverse your thinking. So basically, in order to keep the razor from moving forward, I'm extending a strap to the front section of the razor from the rear. That's going to keep the razor from moving forward. I want to try to keep as flat, or you don't want really sharp angles, because we don't want to just pull down on the razor. That's bad on the suspension. And it's really not going to hold it in place for back and forward movement. It's going to hold it from up and down movement, which we really don't want to do that much unless we have a clearance issue. Now you can see here I have two queen beds. Those both go up into the ceiling. I have about 13 inches now between the bed and there. So even at full travel on the razor, even if the razor bounces off of the trailer surface a few inches, it's not going to come in contact with the bed. And at this angle, it ends up being about like that. It's not a really steep angle. It does compress the suspension a little bit, so I don't leave it tied down like that very long. Usually it's the day before I leave or the day of I leave. That's when I strap the razor down, and then immediately unstrap it when I get there. So that's the proper way of doing it. There are some systems that grab the tires. Those are really good if you can get them in your camper. My particular toy hauler does not have it. It's got the Arctic package, so everything underneath here is sealed off. It's really hard to get the covers off to put additional tie downs to do like a tire bonnet. But this method has proven very reliable. I've probably made 30, 40 trips now and never had a problem with the razor moving. And a lot of times that's a glass door there, so if the razor were to come in contact with that, it would be busted. So we've done a really good job about keeping the razor where it's supposed to be without a lot of compression. So if you have any comments or you have better suggestions, please leave them down below. You know, this has been my experience on this, and I've seen quite a bit at this point, but maybe someone has better ideas, and I'd like to hear from you. But we're planning on a bunch of trips, probably one trip a month from here on out the rest of the summer. So I just kind of wanted to touch base of everything that may help that I could think of, especially if you are either already own one of these or you're getting ready to buy one. Again, you know, the biggest problems people have is not enough truck. Again, highly recommend you buy a 1 ton, whatever brand you want to do. Obviously, I'm a little biased towards the Dodge Cummins, and the main reason I like the Dodge Cummins is I live in the mountains, and it's the only one that has a turbo brake or an exhaust brake that actually functions. So that's something to keep in mind as well if you live in the mountains. If you live in the flatland, buy whatever brand you want, and I'm sure you'll be happy. Anyway, if you have any comments, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.